Okay, good evening, everybody. This is Don Woolley, and I'm talking to you from Sahuarita, Arizona, in our little mini studio here in the Southwest. And we're going to have an interesting show today. We have a special guest, David Eppihimer, David is the Pima County GOP Chairman. The town of Sahuarita is in Pima County, so we're part of that county. And we're going to have him on in a few minutes. I want to talk a little bit to you, about something to you that is happening tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Tea Party Patriots, the national group. Tomorrow's the day of action for visiting congressmen's offices in their local offices. And we're asking everybody, as many people as can, to go down to Ann Kirkpatrick's office, which is on Swan, and tell her how you feel about this phony impeachment thing that's going on, and defend President Trump. It's called, they have a website that's called Defend the President, and it was set up to educate people about this entire episode that we're going through right now. And we all know it's phony. We don't accept their premise at all. They have continually lied about what is going on with the conversation with the Ukraine president. So we've heard the transcript. We've read the transcript. We know what was said. We know what's been fabricated. We know who's behind it, and we think that'll all come out. So anyway, we're glad the president told Congress to buzz off, that he's not going to participate in a phony impeachment thing that the entire House hasn't even voted on, which they don't want to vote on because they can't pass it. They've tried 2 or 3 times before and it's failed, so they don't have the votes to even do an inquiry. So they just strike out on her and do what they want to do. So whatever. The president's told them to buzz off, and told him it was a lot of BS, literally. And so tomorrow's the day to go down and tell Ann Kirkpatrick that it's a bad idea. It has no real evidence. It's a phony impeachment, and that's the word you need to get to her. If people want to go down and rally and protest or whatever, that's fine. But I think the purpose of the day for the Tea Party Patriots is for constituents to go into the office and speak to the staff and tell them how you feel, and that you don't want her voting, supporting impeachment. Let her have it. So anyway, while we're waiting for David Eppihimer to call us on Skype, I'm going to put on some Red Eagle video, which was a video he just recently made. It's kind of an interesting take. His prognostication about if we had a President Trump versus Pocahontas presidential race, and he goes through it state by state. So it's pretty interesting. So I'm gonna put that on now, and you can watch that for a few minutes, and I'll be back. Okay, so here we go.
Wait, I want to show you something. Go ahead and skip this video if you don't like gadgets, but I'm a dad and I found the perfect one. When I was traveling on my last trip, I wish I had one of these. It's a drop-proof solar battery. It can even get wet and still work. It charges my phone, it fits in my pocket, and I can recharge this battery right back up when I'm moving around outside. I just clip it to my backpack or my gear. Now one of these guys will charge up 2 phones or 2 tablets.
Today's video, we're going to be doing Donald Trump versus Elizabeth Warren in the 2020 presidential election. So without further ado, let's get right into it and fill out the states that Donald Trump is going to win in the safe column. That would be Utah, Idaho, and Wyoming. I'm sorry, some Mormon guy will not have a chance this time around. Montana, the Dakotas, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, the deep South per se, except for Georgia, of course. West Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana, Nebraska, everything except Nebraska's 2nd district will be going to Trump safe, as well as the great state of Alaska, the last frontier, will be going to Donald Trump in the safe column, as well as Maine's 2nd district. Even though Warren is from the Northeast, I still expect Donald Trump to win it in the safe column. However, Elizabeth Warren is going to win some states here. I think that compared to an establishment Democrat, she'll get out the Antifa vote in Oregon, the Portland people, and they will come out strongly for her. So I think that she, for that reason alone, is going to win the state of Oregon safe, as well as the state of Washington, New York, Vermont. All these states down here on this right sidebar are also going to be going for Warren in the safe column, as well as Illinois, as well as Maine's 1st district, and the big state of California are all going to be going in the Warren Booker column. I think she'll choose Booker because she'll have trouble connecting to the establishment and the black community, and Booker touches on both. However, Booker will fail to galvanize the votes of the black community, and Warren's turnout will probably end up being lower than Hillary Clinton's in terms of the black community turnout. So Hawaii also will be going for Elizabeth Warren. Now, as we look for these other states, these swing states we can fill in here. New Mexico, I expect to go for Warren. I do expect it to be a very close margin. A lot of Latinos may vote Democrat, but they aren't really always ready for a far-left candidate, particularly one who has alienated Native Americans, and Native American population is bigger in New Mexico than every state, I believe, except for Alaska and maybe Oklahoma, and they're very independent-minded voters. Native Americans are the most unpredictable voting group in America. They voted red in the midterms, and they also voted blue in 2016. So we're really going to have to watch the native vote, especially in places like New Mexico, and how they would react to Warren, which is why I also think that Nevada is going to end up flipping into the Donald Trump column this time around. It was close last time, and I think that Hillary was a much better fit for a very, very suburban state. Nevada is a very suburban state, as well as Colorado, but Colorado is also more of a left-leaning state, especially on things like marijuana. I don't really think Warren has made that a big part of her campaign, but I do think that she is going to win Colorado by a round 4-point margin. Not nearly as much as Hillary Clinton won it, actually. It's going to be roughly around the same margin there. Arizona, I think the suburbs are going to be cancer for Warren. I think Biden would have a shot to make it a very razor-thin race, assuming that he mentally stayed intact the whole entire campaign, which I would not expect to happen regardless. But I also think that Arizona, you have the Mormons in places like Mesa and Tempe that stayed home last time around. I think that Donald Trump is going to be able to win them this time because he has proven himself as a real conservative. So he's going to win Arizona by roughly 5 to 6 points. Georgia, a similar story. He's going to be able to do well enough to win the state by roughly 5. I'll put it in the lean column. I think it's going to be a little bit closer because of Atlanta and the way it's growing, but at the same time, I still think that he's going to do comparatively to how he did in 2016 in the state. Texas, likely, they're not going to come out for Elizabeth Warren, even though they might not like things like Trump's trade policies or his personality or potentially things like the bump stock ban. But definitely, I think Trump is going to do a lot better getting the vote out in Texas than they did in the midterms for the GOP. And I think he's going to win the state by probably around 7 to 10 points, assuming Elizabeth Warren would be the nominee, just because she's too far left. Yes, she's a fighter, but her policies align 100% with Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders now, to his own demise, has health problems, and we don't wish him harm. We wish Bernie Sanders well, even though we disagree with him here severely, but that's beside the point. But it also says that now she really is the presumptive nominee, assuming that she is getting some support from Biden as he loses support because of Ukraine, as well as getting some of the Bernie Sanders vote from before. As for the state of Florida here, Trump will connect her to socialism somehow, and that's going to piss off the already alienated Cubans that voted red in the midterms. Gillum couldn't win in a very D-friendly environment there, and Warren is not going to be able to turn out voters the same way Gillum even was in terms of the communities like the black community or whatever. And Florida, the minorities vote more Republican than they do in most of the country, and that for that alone, I think that Warren is going to lose by a lean margin instead of a tilt margin. North Carolina with Warren, I think it's going to be likely. She's just too far left. She can have this pseudo-populist connection, but nobody's really going to buy it. She's like unbearable to listen to unless you're some indoctrinated college liberal. And for that reason alone, she's not going to be able to do well in places like North Carolina. She's not going to connect well with places in Appalachia, really any more than Hillary Clinton can, because her policies are just too far left. They just won't be working for a lot of people. Even if you are on the far left and that's your positions, you have to look into history and see how America has rejected the far left candidates in the past, and as well as the fact that they do not turn out minorities at higher rates, because minority Democrats are nowhere near as far left as white Democrats, despite the fact that minorities are a more reliable voting bloc for the Democrat Party. Now, as for the state of Virginia, I do expect Virginia to go lean for Warren. It's just too establishmentarian, and they don't want to risk Donald Trump in the White House for any longer than they'd like him to be there. Nebraska's 2nd district will go lean for Donald Trump. It'll win it by more than he did last time. Iowa will be likely. I think Ohio, Richard Cordray got whacked there in the midterms, and he was tying himself to Warren significantly, except for the fact that the midterms favored Democrats because Democrats turned out. It was a D+8 electorate. Cordray won by 4, assuming that the electorate would be D+3, D+2, and that's what the polls really show with Trump and Warren. You would expect Trump to continue the trend and win Ohio safe, and it's very possible. I'll put it in the safe column. It's possible that Biden would make it likely. Maybe Biden would do a little bit better in Ohio, but I still don't think so based on trends, and I think we'll see it. Again, I think the polls will show it be closer than it actually will be come 2020. As for the Rust Belt 4, even though Minnesota and much of Wisconsin's not really a part of the Rust Belt, Warren being so strange has that weird appeal in the, I guess, eastern suburbs where they love the weirdo candidates, but Trump will do better in the rest of the state. I think it's going to be a very razor thin margin either way. We'll come back to it. I think Trump will win Wisconsin lean. I think he could win it likely if Warren didn't have that appeal in places like Madison, but I think her turnout in Milwaukee would be even lower than Hillary Clinton's. So for that reason alone, I do think Wisconsin will go for Donald Trump. As for the state of Michigan, I live here. They're not going to like Warren. She'll make it a fight. It's going to be very close. But then again, Trump's approval has risen since the election. He was at 37%. Now he's at roughly around 45. He's at around 43 right now, maybe 44 because of scandal, but he'll bounce back once the Democrats fail miserably in their impeachment efforts. So for that reason alone, Michigan is going to stay in the tilt Republican column. Pennsylvania, Warren's not going to be able to have appeal to coal country. This woman wants the Green New Deal, and you're going to tell me that she's going to get support from these Democrats that supposedly will back her? I don't think so. I think Pennsylvania is going to lean for Trump because Western Pennsylvania will bring home the victory for Donald Trump again in 2020. As for Maine at large and New Hampshire, I think Trump is going to make a play in the state of New Hampshire and actually end up flipping the state. Again, Warren will not be as well funded as Hillary Clinton. She won't be able to get out the vote as much as Hillary Clinton. She won't get that corporate money, which is why she probably won't be the nominee. And if assuming that they'll put somebody in there like Hillary Clinton, why is she in third place now almost in the betting odds for 2020 if she's not running? Trust me, Vegas knows. And I'll talk about this on my live stream later tonight if you guys are watching this on October 2nd. But we'll be talking about this throughout the election cycle. Maine at large, the same thing based off trends alone. That'll flip as well. Trump will embarrass Warren in her home territory, as well as the fact he's going to pick off the state of Minnesota very narrowly. I think with a generic progressive or whatever they like to call themselves, Trump's going to win 328 to 210. And then some Mormon guy will be left out in the dust again. I apologize, some Mormon guy. But that's just the way it is. So thanks everybody for watching this video. Please give this video a like. Please comment down below and hit that big red subscribe button and click the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Thanks everybody for watching, guys. Red Eagle, out.
Okay, everybody, you've got the picture between Trump and Pocahontas. Pretty interesting. He seems to think that Trump's going to thump her if she's the nominee. I'm not convinced she's going to be the nominee either. So, we'll see. While we're waiting for David Eppihimer to call in on Skype, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to discuss with David. One of the things is the petition that's on the ballot in Tucson coming up in early November. Interesting that they're having an election when everybody in the state pretty much agreed to have elections during election year, which would be 2020, 2018, 2020, et cetera. But, Tucson, they always got to do their thing differently, and somehow they get away with it. But anyway, this petition on sanctuary cities, saw a great ad on television last night, local ad against Prop 205. The sanctuary city petition is now called Prop 205, and this ad just tore it to pieces and said how the town council members are against it, and how the chief of police is against it, and most of the Chamber of Commerce's, I'm sure they're against it. Businesses, sanctuary city idea is bad for business, and this particular idea is really bad for business. These people, they wrote this petition so that it calls for the city of Tucson to not cooperate with any federal agency. It's not just the Border Patrol and ICE, which are the ones that they're always complaining about. This has to do with the Drug Enforcement Administration, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the FBI, the U.S. Marshals, all of them. This petition is poorly written. Why the judge kept it on the ballot, I have no idea. It violates the Arizona Constitution and the U.S. Constitution. And if you go read the city attorney, Tucson City Attorney's 8-page report on this, on Prop 205, it was pretty damning. And so I'm going to put that in a link to that in the comments section where you can go read what the city attorney wrote. And we're going to cover this when David Eppihimer calls in. We're going to talk about this. We're also going to talk about the mayoral race, pretty much down to Regina Romero versus Dr. Ackerley, who ran as an independent. And his theory was that he would be able to get more of the independent votes and the Republican vote, excuse me, and beat a Democrat in the city of Tucson. So we'll see how that pans out. But anyway, we're going to talk to David about that race. Again, between Regina Romero and Dr. Ackerley. I put Regina Romero in the radical left category. She's definitely open borders. I would call her anti-business. You know, she's just way out there. So we've got to hope that Dr. Ackerley pulls this thing off. The problem with this mayoral race, but the bigger problem is, you know, the sanctuary city thing, is that Sahuarita and Oro Valley and Marana are all bedroom communities, small little cities surrounding Tucson on three sides. And Tucson becoming a sanctuary city would have a horrible effect on Marana, Oro Valley, and Sahuarita. And it wouldn't be good, particularly in the crime area. So, you know, in sanctuary city, you might as well send well, I'm getting a call from David now, so let me bring him in, folks. Hello, David.
Hey, I'm here. I hope you can see me. My light isn't on my camera yet.
I can't see you right now, but we do have your audio.
Okay. I'm back from my adventure.
Your sojourn.
My sojourn, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I told the folks that you were going to call in soon, so that's all I said. So
Here I am.
yeah, you did good. It's only 5:18, so heck, you did all right. You might try switching your camera button down there on and off, see if that helps.
Okay. I will give that a shot. It was working when we tested on Monday.
Right? It was. Yeah, for everybody's benefit, we do a Skype test before we do a live stream. So, well, let's try this, David. Why don't I try calling you back, and you answering, and let's see if we can get a picture then.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll get right back
Okay.
with you.
Okay.
So stand by, folks. We're working on this little technical difficulty here, and we'll overcome it. Stand by.
Okay, I'm here again, but
Oh.
I don't see my picture up in the corner.
I see me. I don't see you, David. So
So you want to go ahead with audio and
yeah, that's fine. Let's go ahead with audio. We've got good audio, so that'll work. I was just talking to the folks about, and by the way, this is just for your information. This is we're on live stream right now, but this gets recorded on YouTube and stays on YouTube now until it's deleted by someone, and someone would have to be me. So, so if people miss the live stream, they can go back and watch it anytime.
Okay.
You just go to youtube.com and search on Sahuarita Tea Party, and it'll be there to select, which one you want to watch. So anyway, I was talking to the folks about Prop 205, good old Prop 205.
Yes.
Which is basically the Sanctuary City petition turned into Prop 205.
That's
And
correct.
and I saw a great ad on television last night. And I didn't know if you'd seen that ad yet or not, but
Yes, I have seen that ad, and I've talked to the folks here in Tucson that are involved in the No on Prop 205 effort. And that ad is actually out of a PAC up in Phoenix, because they're so worried in other parts of the state about Tucson becoming the first sanctuary city in Arizona, that there's a PAC up in Phoenix that has gotten together, and they're actually the creators of that particular ad that you've seen. That closes with Magnus, our police chief, at the end. Is that the one?
that's the one. Yeah, I thought it
Yeah.
was terrific, and kudos to them for doing that. It's really a well done ad, very succinct and short and to the point. So yeah, that they did a great job, and I hope more people get to see it. But it was on during I think it was on during one of the local news broadcasts last night, which is
It was. They're running it during the news,
Yeah.
heavily during the news. And I think it's very well done, too. I mean, it says, Tucson leaders of both parties are against this thing. And it's going to hamper law enforcement. Of course, it's going to do a lot of other things that are equally bad. But the law enforcement issue, I think, is the one that really catches people's attention. And then it says, and here's Chief Magnus, and here's what he has to say. And it closes with vote no. And I think they've done the right thing about talking about Prop 205, because Sanctuary City, there've been some polling, a little bit of polling on it, and Sanctuary City registers with a lot of voters as kind of warm and fuzzy. If you go to church, your church has a sanctuary, and sanctuary is kind of a warm word. And so to talk about it in terms of Prop 205 is the right thing to do in terms of motivation.
Yeah, exactly. And I know I was also telling the folks, David, that the Tucson city attorney, wrote a great report about Prop 205 when it was a petition, and he was totally against it, and wrote 8 pages about it, how it violated the Arizona Constitution, number one. Now, I still don't understand how a judge let it get on the ballot, but that's been done, so I don't we don't need to address that.
As the guy that was in the middle of that,
You're right.
I can try to explain the judge's ruling, but quite frankly, we don't think he paid much attention to the arguments.
Right.
He just decided that all of these people ought to be able to have their day in court with the voters, and so I'll let it happen.
Yeah.
We kind of think that's what he did, because the arguments against allowing it to go to the voters, we think were very strong. The city miscalculated the number of the number of signatures it took on a petition to get it on the ballot. We feel very strongly that they miscalculated, that instead of 9,000 and some signatures, it should have been 12,000 and some. And our lawyers felt very strongly that they had found the right statute that required it to be 3,000 signatures higher than the city set, and that was kind of the crux of the matter. And the judge said no, the city can calculate the way they're calculating, and once I rule on that, everything else sort of becomes moot. And so he allowed it to go to the voters. We put a lot of effort into that. We had pro
I know you
bono.
did.
We raised money for the first round of arguments, and then the law firm decided to carry it all the way through pro bono after that initial funding. It was the Munger Chadwick Decker.
Right.
John Munger's the principal in that firm, and he's a former county chair and state chair.
Oh yeah, I ran for governor one time.
And ran for governor. I
Yeah.
was his finance director when he ran for governor. And so we tried real hard to keep it off the ballot. But it's on the ballot, and so we're trying real hard to get it defeated.
So one of the things in the ad they said is that the city council was against it. Have you heard anything from any city council member that might be for it?
No, not sitting council member.
Right.
Rahina is a little soft in her opposition. I've heard her on 2 occasions personally, been in the room with her,
Mm-hmm.
on 2 occasions when she has said she's against Prop 205 based upon what she thinks, and Mike Rankin said about possible loss of funds for the city of Tucson. 120, 125 million, whatever you calculate it to be, it's in that range. So for that reason, she's against it. But philosophically,
Yeah.
based upon the concept of sanctuary and what
Right.
it would mean for Tucson, she's in favor of it.
Right.
So she's very soft in her opposition.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the current city council and mayor. Of the candidates, though, Lane Santa Cruz, who's the candidate for Ward 1, Democrat candidate for Ward 1 council person, is very strong for, very strong. And so if she gets elected and Romero gets elected and Sanctuary City passes, Prop 205 passes, I firmly believe it's last person in Tucson to leave, turn the lights out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
that's
So what area does Ward 1 cover? What part of
it's the
Tucson are we
west
talking?
side of Tucson.
West side?
Main-
Okay.
Yeah, west side. It's mainly over on the other side of I-10.
Yeah.
It's the city of Tucson on the other side of I-10.
Yeah.
Mainly. It's heavily Democrat. Our guy, Sam Nagy, who's running for Ward 1 councilman, is going to have a real battle beating Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Not because anybody knows who she is. She's a former staffer for Romero when she was Ward 1 councilman. She's just a staff person
Yeah.
in Romero's office.
Right.
Got no qualifications, and she's just a raging left-wing liberal. I mean, she's way beyond liberal. I heard her talk at the debate, and she's just a whack job.
Yeah.
So, Sam's going to have a tough time because she's a D, and it's a D ward.
Yeah. How about the rest of the candidates?
Well,
Anybody else?
I think that Ewart Williams in Ward 2 is running a good campaign, and Mike Hicks in Ward 4. Mike was on the school board
Right.
for 2 terms, maybe 3, and served admirably on TUSD governing board. And we think all 3 of them have got a shot. We think Mike has got a great shot because of his name recognition. His opponent in Ward 4, Nikki Lee, isn't even running a campaign. I mean, she just figures because she's a D,
Yeah.
she's going to get elected. And Shirley Scott, is not running for re-election, so it's an open seat.
Right.
And she figures she's going to walk into it. So Mike is campaigning hard, and we think we got a shot there.
Well, that's good. That's good news. So, do you think, as far as the mayor's concerned, do you think Ed Ackerley has a shot at that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And let me tell you what Pima GOP is doing to get the vote out. We're doing an extensive phone calling, get the vote out operation, starting, let's see, today's the 9th, starting
Right.
tomorrow. because ballots are mailed tomorrow, starting tomorrow, to do three things. And we're calling Republicans and we're calling right-leaning independents. And what we want to do is deliver a block of votes, Republican and right-leaning independent votes, to vote those ballots when they get them in the mail, even though we don't have a Republican candidate for mayor, which is another whole conversation that I'd be glad to have with you. But we're going to ask them to vote that ballot and do three things. Vote no on Sanctuary City. It's bad for Tucson. It's bad for your property values. It's a bad deal. Vote no. We want them to vote for all three of our city council candidates because it is a citywide election. Doesn't matter what ward you live in. You can vote for all of them. Vote for all three. And then look at the mayor's race. And who have you got? You've got Regina Romero, who's a left-wing, progressive Democrat who's got that agenda for the city of Tucson. You've got Mike Cease, Green Party candidate, who's further left than Regina. I didn't realize that about the Green Party. They're further left than the whack job Democrats.
Yeah, I think so. I think they are.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, and they're he's probably a Green New Deal
He's in
crazy
love with
man,
the Green
right?
New Deal. He's in love with the Green New Deal.
Oh yeah.
So you've got those two lefties.
Yeah.
And then you've got a business guy, Ed Ackerley. He's an independent. He's a conservative. He's conservative on all the big issues. And so who are you going to vote for?
Yeah.
Don't not vote. Vote and vote your conscience.
Right.
Who are you going to vote for? You're going to vote for Ed Ackerley.
Yeah.
And we think if we can deliver a big block of Ackerley votes plus the votes he's working so hard to get, independents and Democrats that don't want to be so far left, we think he's got a shot.
So I've seen a little bit. I hear there's some sign stealing going on.
Oh
yeah. Anything that we should know about that front,
Well,
or anybody doing anything about it?
Well, yeah, we are doing something about it, but
Okay.
we don't have an ID of who did it. We have a suspicion, but I don't want to name any names.
Oh sure.
Based upon suspicion.
Yeah.
The video that was shot, it was the corner of Craycroft and Speedway.
Pretty busy area.
Where the Roses and More is on one corner and the McDonald's and the Walgreens is on the other,
Mm-hmm.
on the north side of Speedway. That's where it was. The video was shot by someone stopped at the light and saw this person picking up Ackerley and Republican city council candidate signs, our blue signs that we
Just
bought.
took them down.
I took him and
Yeah.
carried him off under his arm, and then went across the street to the Roses and More, and took those signs.
Hmm.
And so Channel 4 broadcast the video, and I think KOLD did. The newspapers reported on it. All three. And I know the Green Party has published a denunciation. We published a denunciation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Dems have done anything yet, which is telling. And if we could identify the guy, he had a ball cap on and sunglasses, and he had his hat pulled down on his forehead.
Mm-hmm.
We still think we know who he is. We think he's an active Democrat that we see around all the time, spouting his mouth off in various forums where he can do that. But we can't name names because he's kind of unidentifiable from the thing. But police reports have been filed. Everybody's notified, and I think that things have stopped in that regard in the last week because of the big brouhaha that hit the fan over this thing.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
It's not right. I mean, you have that's the one thing that Republicans have always, I think, upheld is that, if you spend the money to get your signs out and you got the volunteers that'll go put them in the ground, leave them alone. Put your own up and do your own job.
Yeah, one of the things I always noticed, David, at every election, I think particularly it was evident in 2018 how everybody kept putting their signs in front of the other guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's always hard to control, you know, but
Yeah. I
I
was
saw-
carrying signs around in my car till today. I put my last sign out today over on Broadway.
yeah,
And we're putting out those blue ones with Sam's picture and Ewart's picture and Mike Hicks' picture. We
yeah,
think
the
they're nice.
kind of the triple.
Yeah.
I like those signs. That worked real well a few years ago for the corporate commissioners when they all ran as a trifecta. So I think that's really a good idea to do that.
Yeah, and we think they're good looking, and they
Yeah.
show our candidates. And when you look at our candidates, you can see it's not your dad's or your granddad's Republican Party. I mean, we're pretty diverse.
Right. Well, I wanted to let you know that we're talking about this sanctuary city thing, and we had Steve Christie down at the Republican Club last week, and he is quite concerned about, you know, this sanctuary city thing in Tucson and having that spread into the county. And one of the things that we can do to prevent that is we need to find a candidate to run against Valadez down here in the Sahuarita area. And I don't know if
I agree.
anybody's talked about that or stepped up about it, but
Well, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
We've talked about it, but nobody has stepped up.
we thought we had somebody on the town council that was, and it was a she, and she was interested, but her family was against it, so she's not going to do it, and that's fine. We understood that argument, and but boy, we sure wish we could find somebody because I think Valadez is beatable.
Well, I think he is too.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things that people aren't stepping up and wanting to put themselves out to run.
Yeah.
Joe Bogert is running against Bronson.
Oh, he is. Oh, good for Joe.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Joe Bogert is running against Bronson.
Oh, wow.
And you know, he has good name recognition in the party. He doesn't have, I don't think, real great name recognition out in the
Right.
general population.
Right.
But he's got a great name recognition in the party. He did really wonderful work against 463. I
Oh
think I
yeah.
have the
Yeah.
right
We
number.
we had him down here twice talking about the bonds thing, and
Yeah.
both at the Tea Party and the club, and we've supported. He just does a great job. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's
And
that's
he's
good.
Really, he's just really good at digging into numbers and digging into budgets and bonds and things and
Oh,
finding
yeah.
out what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
And so he's running. He's already running. He's filed. So we got somebody against Bronson, and we do. But you're right. You're right, Don. We need to get somebody running against Valadez.
Do you have any contact with Chris Ackerley these days?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially since his uncle's running for mayor. You know, I see him
Yeah.
around.
Oh, that is his uncle. They are related. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
it's his uncle.
So what we were thinking is we believe Chris lives in Sahuarita, and we thought he would be a good candidate to run against Valadez. But he would have to promise, he would have to swear on a Bible that he would get rid of Huckleberry.
Well, yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to get a majority to get rid of him.
Right. Get
I'm
it.
gonna write that down.
Yeah. See if you
'cause
can
I
talk to
hadn't
Chris
heard-
about that.
I
'cause-
hadn't heard his name mentioned to run against Valadez before.
Well, I think he lives in this area, and
But he does live in your area. I just don't know whether he's in the right
Right.
supervisor district, but I guess he would be.
yeah, if he's in the Sahuarita, anywhere in the Sahuarita, town of Sahuarita, he's okay, unless it's Quail Creek, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't live in Quail Creek. I think Quail
No,
Creek
I
is,
don't think he does.
yeah, Quail Creek is District 4, so, but this is 2 here, so, yeah, look into that, David.
will.
Okay, good.
I see him all the time in connection with his uncle running for mayor. They travel together a lot.
Oh, I'm sure, and I don't know if Chris has any thoughts about, what's happening down here in LD2 is, Galvadon's going to now run for senator, and Crazy D'Alessandro is going to switch back to
Yeah,
the
they're
House,
gonna
right?
flip. They're going to flip.
So I was wondering who's going to jump up and run against Galvadon, because I think she's beatable too. But-
Yeah.
But work on Chris for supervisor.
I will.
We'll be selfish about
You
it.
can count on that, Don. You can
Yeah,
count on it.
great, good. Yeah, I'm glad I brought it up. So,
I'm glad you brought it up too, because I
Yeah.
had, sometimes you don't get 2 and 2 adding to 4.
right. So another thing I wanted to talk with you about, I think we discussed this a little bit the other day, was election integrity. Your election, the county came up with an election integrity report that,
Yes, we did.
and there was some disturbing information in there,
Yes.
particularly about ballot harvesting, where
Yeah.
it was pretty much condoned by the election supervisor. And interesting that she suddenly says she's going to retire next year,
Yes, she does.
right?
Yeah, I take people's statements at face value, and I know that her husband has got some health issues that are taking more of her time, and she's
Right.
been the recorder for 20 some years, I think.
Yeah. It's,
So,
yeah.
and FAN runs a pretty tight ship down there, and I've said that publicly before.
Yeah.
I have some respect for FN, but
Yeah.
there is there've been some problems, and we did form a committee. It's an ad hoc committee
Mm-hmm.
that I formed with our members, the Republican members of the County Election Integrity Commission. There is such a thing, and there are 3 Republican members of that commission.
I know Bill Beard is one of those, right?
Well, Bill Beard was one of
Oh.
those, but he resigned when he went to work for Ellie Miller,
Oh, okay.
and he was replaced by Brady Rhodes, and then there's Lavoy Hurley, who is Steve Christie's appointment, and then there's John Cody, who is my appointment.
Okay.
The county chair gets to appoint.
Okay.
So we got 3 members, Republican members of the Election Integrity Commission, and we issued a report. They issued a report following up on the observations that we all did following the 2018 counting process
Mm-hmm.
in November of 2018, and that report took from November till May to get to where we wanted it to be publicly seen, and that report was put out. We met with FN. We met with Brad Nelson, who's the county's elections director.
Right.
We met with Chuck. We met with legislators Fincham, Leach. We met with a lot of people with
Good.
this and presented it to them, and it's getting some traction.
Good.
Leach and Fincham are behind it in terms of a legislative agenda, and believe it or not, Don, Chuck Huckleberry thought a lot of the report.
Yeah. I got that out of the reporting when they reported on it, that I saw, that I've seen or read about. Yeah, it sounded like he did support the report.
He supported the report, and he sent it out to all county officials for their review, and asked them all to send back comments, and said that there were good points made in the report, and he wanted to hear from county department heads on what their thoughts were and what could be implemented. And he even went so far, and I'm not talking out of school because it was in his memorandum. He even went so far as to say, look, the county has a lobbyist for the legislature every term,
Mm-hmm.
and his name's Mike Rossi. And he said, if I can get the supervisors to agree on some of the points in your report, we'll put the county's lobbyist on it in the next session of the legislature.
Well, that's good.
Because some of the things we recommended need legislative action.
Of course.
So yeah, that we've been doing a lot of stuff, Don.
Well, I know. No, and that's
one of-
yeah, that's why I wanted to have you on, because I want people to hear about some of these things. Because I can't tell you how many people come up to Patty and I and want to talk about, well, everybody talks voter fraud, but I like Dr. Laura Presley down in Texas. She calls it election fraud.
Yeah.
It's not just voter fraud; it's election fraud. There are holes in the process, and it's not just voters breaking the law or some voter voting twice or any of that. There's a There are a lot of other ways to commit election fraud. So
Right, and one of the ways that people, I think, miss is the actual voter database.
Yep.
And in Arizona, and our election report addressed this to some degree, because you've got motor voter and you've got people registering to vote when they get their driver's license or online, which I think is awful.
Mm-hmm.
There is no proof of citizenship required in that process.
Yep, that's why they invented it.
Yeah, and the Constitution says that only citizens can vote.
That's right.
In plain brown and white, in plain brown and beige.
Yeah.
The Constitution says that only citizens can vote, and if you do it online or if you do it when you go down to the DMV and get your driver's license, you can register to vote and just check a box that says, yes, I'm a citizen,
Mm-hmm.
and you register to vote. And
Right.
nobody looks at anything. Nobody checks anything. You don't have to bring a birth certificate. You don't have to bring anything.
Yep.
You just check the box. And so one of the ways that election integrity is violated is just in the whole voter database process.
Yep. Exactly. Well, I wanted to let you know that after my conversations, and I did an interview with Dr. Presley a few weeks ago, and you can go on YouTube and watch that. And she has other interviews with a guy named Bill Still, where she's talked about her the work she's doing in Texas. But one of the things, the Texas Constitution, David, says that the ballots have to be sequentially numbered.
Right.
Also, they wrote it in the statute. So I think the Texas Constitution was ratified in 1876. And they were smart enough to know that you had to number the ballots, okay? And so then they wrote a statute which covers it, and that's what we need to do in Arizona. It is not required in every county. And I talked to Pima County elections, and they do not number the ballots.
No, they don't.
Yep. So we need to get that done in January, February up in our state legislature. We've got to sequentially number ballots.
And I agree, and that's in our report.
Good.
And certainly I agree that would help.
Yep.
There are a lot of things that you can do to tighten up the system. And you know what, the Democrats immediately start yelling and wailing and tears and
Yeah, I know, yeah.
It's voter suppression.
Yeah.
They're trying to
right.
suppress the vote.
Yeah.
And well, you know, what we're trying to do is allow every legally cast vote to be counted.
And that's the key, legally cast.
Every legally cast vote to be counted.
And we agree with that.
Illegally cast vote to be rejected.
Right.
And if you want to call that voter suppression, well, then have at it. But that's what the Constitution says.
Well, think about this. Think about if you and I, if we went over to France, we wouldn't expect to be able to vote in their elections.
Of course not.
I mean, it's so stupid on face value,
Of course
but
it
people come here thinking that they're not a citizen, but they can vote in our elections. I mean, give me a break.
It's just absurd. I have a friend of mine who's actually moving to New Zealand, and which is another whole story. But I mean, the stuff he tells me that he's had to go through and prove that he's not going to be a burden on the economy.
Oh yeah.
And prove that he's not going to be a burden on the health system.
Right.
And do this and that and the other and prove his assets and provide documentation.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he's still not ever going to be able to be a citizen or vote.
Yeah.
It's just crazy what people think the United States should be.
Yeah, it is. You go to Canada. I know that Canada requires you to. I think you got to prove to them that you have a net worth of at least $40,000.
Yeah, just to.
And it might be higher now, but yeah, they won't even talk to you unless you can do that.
Yeah, he had to prove he was healthy and his wife was healthy.
Oh yeah.
And wouldn't be a burden on the medical system.
But we really require the same thing here. When people came through Ellis Island, those same requirements were in place. You had to be healthy. They checked you for health problems. You had to prove that you had to be able to support yourself, and And it's because people over the years have decided to ignore the law.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right, Don.
You know, it's really a fact. One of the, you know Zach Taylor, right?
Oh, sure.
Well, Zach, we're good friends with Zach, and Zach wrote out a 10-point. He wrote out a 10-point plan a few months ago of how to stop this, and this horde of amnesty goers, or whatever you want to call them, that were coming into the country. And he says all we
Right.
got to do is follow immigration law, and he wrote out the 10 points to do it. One of the great points he made was that the judges, immigration judges, need to be moved down to the border. Well, they're doing that now. They're doing it another way too. Not only are some of them on the border, but they have tents that they've put down there to conduct court in via like Skype, audio, video, and they're doing it right down on the border right away. And then the other thing he said was that agents, Border Patrol and ICE agents, are considered immigration officers too, and they can do the interviews with these people that are claiming amnesty, and they can deny them on the spot. Now they can, if they have a lawyer, if they've grabbed a lawyer, or if a lawyer, these radical lawyers that have grabbed up a handful of them to drag them across the border and represent them, if they want to see an immigration judge, they can do that. But those agents are qualified to, and that's one of the things that Ken Cuccinelli is working on, to get more people into that loop so that they can, make that determination, right?
Yeah.
And credible, I guess they call it credible fear or something.
I'm not.
It's called a credible fear interview. And,
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar.
yeah, and if they think you have a legitimate amnesty claim, then you can go forward, or they can reject you. And the other thing Zach said was that these people, once they're rejected, they need to be immediately put on military aircraft, put it on television, and fly them back to their home country. And when a few people see that, and they see that video, they'll stop coming up this
They'll
way.
stop coming. Sure.
So-
Absolutely.
Which all makes a lot of sense, right?
Of course it makes sense. It's logical.
That's why it's so scary.
And there's so many things that are so simple. They're logical. They make sense. Well,
Yeah.
of course,
that's
do
right.
it.
Well, I'm glad you guys are working on election integrity, because that's, like I said, we have a lot of people ask about that, and I'm going to have Dr. Laura Presley back on pretty soon, so I'll let you know about that so you can watch, because she is very, very interesting, and
Okay.
she is a doctor. She has several patents in the semiconductor industry. She's a chemist and a physicist, and she is really good at pulling data, taking voter data and finding out the trends and what's really going on with the voting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Good.
anyway, that's everything I wanted to talk about, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Well, it's my pleasure. I had a little blip in the radar there.
Oh, that's
And then
okay.
I can't get my camera to turn on, but what the heck? We just persevere.
That's right. We'll do this again, and we'll have your camera working next time.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
thanks for having me on.
Oh
I
yeah,
hope-
David.
I hope I think we had a good conversation, and glad to talk with you next time.
Okay, we'll see you down the road.
Okay. Take care.
Okay, take care, David.
Bye bye.
Okay, folks, that was David Eppihimer. Sorry we couldn't get the video on him, but that was a good, I think that was a good interview. It was an interesting discussion. Everybody kind of learned what's going on across Tucson and Pima County and election fraud. And so, keep your ears tuned. We'll try to keep you updated on all these things. I'm going to take a short break, and I'll be back to wrap up the show. Okay, everybody, we're back. Thanks for joining us today. I thought that was a good interview with David Eppihimer, Pima GOP Chairman, and we look forward to having him back on again, and maybe we can get his camera working on his laptop. So that'll be one of our challenges for the future. Anyway, I want to let you know that tomorrow again, we encourage everybody to visit Ann Kirkpatrick's office up in Tucson on Swan Boulevard. Go in and tell her how you feel about this phony impeachment thing, or tell her staff. The more the merrier. So, on Friday morning in Sahuarita, Patty and I are hosting a free coffee and donuts for representing the Sahuarita Tea Party. We're having a free coffee and donuts for first responders, which includes fire department, local police, Pima County Sheriff, all the federal agencies, U.S. Army, any Army folks working down on the border. We're asking everybody to stop by, come by and have free coffee and donuts, because we want to thank them for what they're doing, for protecting the country, for protecting this area, for protecting us. So we really appreciate all of them, their sacrifice and hard work, and we want to show them our appreciation for all that. So anyway, that's Friday morning at the fire station number 79, which is on Sahuarita Road, right behind the Sahuarita Post Office. And Rural Metro has been kind enough to let us use their room in there, so it should be a lot of fun. And for all you folks, for all you first responders, whatever agency you're from, if you have challenge coins, bring them in, and we'll trade you a challenge coin. We have some challenge coins we can trade with you, so that'll be fun too. Anyway, you all take care, and we'll see you next week about the same time. There's the 6 o'clock bell, and I hope you all have a good week. Enjoy President Trump's rally tomorrow night, and he's got another one in Dallas coming right up, so those will be fun. And let's help him keep fighting and keep America great. We support President Trump 100%. I guarantee you that. So anyway, everybody take care, be safe, and we will see you next Wednesday or Thursday. I'll let you know. Good night.